back, everybody, to No Degree, Just Experience. Our guest today proves that experience, drive, and determination can take you further than any diploma ever could. Welcome, Mariela.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Also, our longtime best friend that we've known for how many years?
Over 10 years?
I met you in 2013, for sure.
I met her in 2012, so
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's been a very, very long time.
I feel old right now. talking
It's
about
like
it.
14 years? No, 12.
Isn't
Anyway.
that crazy? You guys didn't have kids. You guys weren't even married.
We weren't even
Well,
married.
when we met, we weren't even dating yet.
Yeah, you guys weren't even dating. So.
I didn't even know you existed.
I knew you existed.
Yeah.
I had to make myself known.
Missionary work.
We met Mariela way back when, 2012,
Yep.
2013, at church. And we have been friends ever since. And it's amazing that we're here 10 plus years later on our podcast. Like, I'm so excited to hear. Okay. So I just want to start off by just share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Mariela Worthington, and I was born in Mexico. It's a very small town outside of Monterrey, Linares, and migrated here when I was 2, and grew up in Houston, Texas, and I think I was around, 21 when I ended up leaving and moved to Seattle
Wow.
by myself.
Seriously, by yourself, clear across country.
Literally,
Yeah.
she was actually in my driveway, I believe, literally waving goodbye as I forgot what I was driving, but I had everything packed up that I owned in my car, and I said,
Literally.
peace out, Houston.
Wow.
I want to.
That was a bold move, too, because you didn't know anybody in Seattle either, right?
Nope.
You literally just picked the city, Seattle, and you were like, I'm going to go build a better life.
That's quite literally what happened. Yeah.
And you were 21?
I think I was 21. Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
so.
you were
Yeah,
young.
I was young. I was a
I
baby.
was like, I remember seeing you going that evening and like, I'm going to miss you.
I remember getting on the, 290? Or what's that highway right there? I can't remember.
249.
249 and driving up the ramp, and I'm like, well, there's no turning back now.
That is so wild.
I thought you carpooled with other people though.
It was Lizette, and she was behind me. She drove separately
okay,
too.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that first night we drove 13 hours.
And then you
just
drove all
wild.
along the West Coast, right?
Yep,
Or-
we drove up. We stopped at the Grand Canyon, and then we drove up the 5. Right up the 5, and stopped in San Francisco, and then we were in the Oregon coast, and then ultimately made it up to Seattle, where, it's gorgeous up there. So you can only imagine that road trip. It's like the most
I know.
epic road
Yeah,
trip
that's still
ever.
a road trip I would love to take. My God.
So
I know, I would too.
Yeah.
How long did it take you? How many days?
I really don't remember.
Because you were just taking your time, right? You weren't like in a rush.
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, my finances were kind of low, so I needed to get there as fast as possible to start working.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I can't remember. Probably 5 days, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What inspired you to make that decision? To just pick up and go?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of things. I think at one point I kind of knew that there was nothing for me here. There was nothing for me. I couldn't. I've always aspired to be something big or just make it in the world, whatever make it was at that point. I can't remember, but I just knew it wasn't here in Houston. And my mom, when she was, I can't remember, 22, 24, she, made that crazy leap of faith to the United States. And then she made a better life for herself. So
Right.
I thought in my head, okay, well, if I make that sort of leap of faith, and I felt God kind of tug me, maybe that will happen where I can have a slightly better life than what I currently had at that time. So that's kind of what made me, and I just had a lot of fire inside me, with
You did.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You did. I
mean-
remember asking, are you sure you want to do this? You're by yourself. I wish I could have gone with you, but
I know, that's a
Also-
bold move for someone so young. Because I know lots of not me, but lots of young people do that. They move away cross country from their family and stuff. But there's usually some sort of friend, relative, infrastructure, something that they're like going to, or like they go someplace for college and they make connections there and that takes them somewhere else. So just doing it out of the blue, just like pick a city, I'm going there. That was incredible.
Yeah, why Seattle?
There was a internship program that caught my eye,
Okay.
and I was like, I was so hungry for God at that moment, and I'm like, this is. I feel like I need to go do this. Like I have to go do. There's no other option for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a small door, and it was like you either take this door or you find something else. And for me, it was like, this is. I have to do this. There's no option. Literally no option.
That's admirable.
Seriously. So what happened when you made it to Seattle? You finally got there.
Whew.
What's the first steps?
Well, first step was to find a job, which I ultimately found while I was commuting to Seattle. I got on an app called care.com,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't even have a place to live at that point. So I didn't have
Okay.
a job and I didn't have a place to live. So as we were driving, I was interviewing with families to basically be a live-in nanny at that point. And I found a family, ended up staying with them for a little bit while I got my stuff together with the internship program, where I ended up meeting other amazing individuals from all over the country, actually the world. And that was like the first step. And then I, went through this internship program, and it was amazing. Just learned about the Word of God and just like the Bible and like the meat and potatoes about just everything of the Bible. And it was awesome. It was such a great time. It really shaped me. And throughout that process, I met some incredible people. And that's how it kind of started, honestly. And I was literally a nanny for all this time, but I jumped from like, this family didn't need me anymore, so then I would go to the next, and so on and so forth. And
I would imagine that's a little scary though, because you don't know like what situation you're walking into. You don't know these people. You're young. You don't have family or friends around. You're trying to find your place. How?
I remember, I don't know if you want to talk about this or not on the podcast,
Yeah,
but
no.
I remember the first place you went to, there was some kind of infestation problem.
It was a spider lice infestation.
Oh my God.
Spiders and lice?
Yes.
That is such a great double whammy. Lice, oh my gosh. How long
Yeah.
did you stay there for?
Oh, it wasn't long. It was probably, I didn't even make it 3 months, I think.
Oh my God.
At the time, actually, the house ended up burning down.
What?
Yeah. So
Those spiders weren't playing around.
yeah. And then this beautiful family, one of the girls that was doing the internship with, her family opened their home to me. And that's where I ended up staying for a little bit. And they were amazing, very like strong faith family. And then, but to go back to your question, it was scary to go into this family home and multiple family homes and kind of like, who are these people? I don't know. But let me tell you, it was the most beautiful time of my life. 'Cause not only were the families just so beautiful and their kids were so beautiful, but like, they were also very intelligent. A lot of them were like high executives, multimillionaires. And so I learned a lot from them just from like just observing them. And I think I was in my early 20s, right? Like I was just like a sponge. I was soaking everything up of how they spoke, their mannerisms, how they, spoke about money and their kids, how they treated their kids. I was like, this is a perfect figure for me to just learn from. And it was multiple families, and it was just like, wow, how am I in this situation? How am I like, first of all, these families are like interviewing these candidates, and they're like, no, we want you. And I'm like, okay, great. And then I would travel with them, right? Travel everywhere. And it's like, you build this, they ended up being a family to me.
Right.
And it wasn't a job at the end of the day. It was like, no, these people are allowing me to be a part of their family.
That's amazing.
I just learned as much as I could from them.
That is awesome.
So you went on the family vacations?
I sure did.
Where did you go?
I went to Hawaii. That was an amazing trip.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
went to Arizona a lot. California. I think that was it. But it was it. I mean, it's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then you start meeting these families' friends, like who they associate with, and of course, their friends are like also super successful, and like again, you just see how they talk and how they treat people
Right.
and what they value. And I just soaked it all up, honestly. And like one thing that they all had in common was no was never an option. And I'm like, okay, no is never an option for me either.
Yeah.
And so again, I just got little tidbits from everybody, and yeah, that's how.
Is that essentially like how you started like shaping your career, and like what was your career path? Like, so you were doing the internship, you were a nanny. How did you start saying, okay, what am I really going to do here long term? Like, as far as my career, yeah.
You know, I didn't really know. I ended up meeting a businesswoman who I ended up helping open a coffee shop, and she taught me a lot about business and leadership. And ultimately, I don't know how I ended up working for a dermatologist. So, you know, I have these high executives like that I know, beautiful families, business people. I landed at a dermatology clinic.
Wow.
And the dermatology clinic, it was a doctor and her husband who was a lawyer. And they took me in, worked the front desk as a receptionist. But as these people in my past taught me, never say no, or no is never an option, and you just keep pushing through, right? And every time they would ask me to do something, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. It got to the point where they asked me like, "Hey, do you want to do graph photography?" And I'm like, "Sure, yeah." Do you guys know what graph photography
What
is?
is that? What
I do
graph?
not know what graph photography
Well,
is.
it's a patient will come in,
Uh-huh.
literally go nude, and then you, as a photographer, you have to take pictures of their moles because you're tracking skin cancer.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, "Yep, sign me up."
Did you wait? Did you say yes before you even knew what it was?
I think so. I was just like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." Like,
Photography
whatever.
sounds great. I
Yeah.
love taking
I
pictures.
picked up a camera before, sure. And like $700 per patient. I'm like, great, I'm in.
That is freaking
Sign me up.
awesome.
Well, I want to be a graph photographer for that rate. Bring me the moles.
Bring me the mold.
But yeah, I ended up doing that for a little bit, and I was like, yes, no's not an option. I'm gonna say yes to everything.
Still while working the reception desk.
Yep, and I was also a nanny, and I also worked at the coffee shop.
And were you an intern still at this time
No.
too? Okay.
No, the
Hustle
intern,
was real.
the hustle was
What
real.
age were you at this time?
I think I was 24, 25.
Okay, so like a few years have passed.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, 'cause I did the internship for almost 2 years.
Gotcha.
Did you learn much from the internship, or did you mostly learn from the nannies? Because what it sounds like is you signed up as a job as a nanny, and you got paid, but ultimately you got a bunch of mentors.
Yeah.
It was that's exactly what I will say. They were all mentors in their own way. And I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything, but like that literally helped me with my career.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
amazing.
Mhm.
Would you say you learned more from the nanny mentors than you did at your actual internship that you drove cross
100%.
country for?
At the church.
At the church, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to just go nanny somewhere.
I know.
Don't do an internship. Go watch kids.
Right? With rich people.
Go watch rich people's kids.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was like executives, you know, high up executives at these big tech companies or business people, or, I mean, it was just like all different types of careers
Awesome.
that I got to be around
Yeah.
with. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're like that. I'm going to mimic it in Mariella's way.
Were you always just like observing, or like would you ask questions? Like,
I feel for the most part, it was mostly me just observing, but also we would, with these families these people that I've met, I always got to like great conversations or
Yeah.
like guidance, right?
Mhm.
You know, like, hey, what do you think about this? And like, what are your thoughts about this? You know, whether it was politics or finances or the real estate industry, it was always like I was always a part of some of those conversations, and I just learned a lot from
Mm-hmm.
that.
That's
Wow.
awesome. So inadvertently, like they were just investing in you. Like,
Whether they knew it or not,
It's
yeah.
really hard because, like, I read something where just in life in general, it's good to have a mentor and then yourself with a peer and then you mentoring somebody else. There's three people that you need to have in your circle, which is a mentor, you mentoring somebody, and then just an equal,
Mhm.
that you're learning with and from. And a lot of people don't get that. And there's
Yeah.
been many times where I've told Charlie too, like, I want somebody to invest in me. Like, I want a mentor, a life coach, or whatever it is. But that's a huge blessing to have it also at a young age to help you kind of guide you.
Yeah, and so on top of that, I had these amazing roommates that they were just the most caring people. They're just givers, right? Give, and so I'm learning about that as well, right? Like learning about people, what they value, how to treat others. That phrase where it's like surround yourself with the right people. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're like a image of who you surround with. Like I'm realizing like that was so important for me in my 20s, where now I'm in my 30s. I'm like, okay, these are the people who I surrounded myself, and this is the outcome of that of those
Yeah,
people that I surrounded myself with.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
oh, get into it right there. That's perfect advice. No, that's awesome. I think that's something that, for people in our age group. I think that's really hard to find sometimes. Um, and I don't know if I want to keep this in the podcast or not because I don't want to knock on anybody or anything. But I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people who like do have that hustle and like people like yourself who have, I feel like we have a lot of that too, where it's like there's this drive and motivation where you're like, you're not just doing the minimum, you're like doing the most. You're working your
Yeah.
regular job, you're working side hustles and stuff. And I find it's hard to find a lot of people, at least here in Houston in our age demographic, where they have that same kind of mentality or mindset. There's a lot of like just standard industry people here. Like you got engineers, you got people, medical field lawyers and stuff. But a lot of it, like it's a 9 to 5 job, and it kind of stops there. And so I find it hard to find people with that higher level mindset. It's harder to surround myself with people with
Yeah.
that level of motivation. In fact, nothing drives me crazier than like people telling me I need to take it easy.
I totally agree with that. And the people that I met, while living in California and Seattle and all these crazy places, none of them had that mentality. These high executives or like business people that I've met, friends, no one had that mentality. No one. It's never good enough. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. Never say no. Be competent. Be confident.
Mm-hmm.
And I would kind of agree with you on that. So yeah.
Yeah, like being here in Houston and like the people that are just here.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the
Yeah.
career paths that they want and stuff, and they
Sure.
do. And there's something to be said for someone who just like, gets to clock in, clock out, go home, and enjoy their time and their day and stuff.
Yeah.
I just find that really, really difficult. I like the
Yeah.
motivation. I like to keep pushing myself.
Like I told you, like you inspire me so much, and just by talking to you now, and like just knowing where you're at, it's like it lights a fire under me, and it's a domino effect when you surround your people with the like-minded and stuff. It's just like you get fired up. 'Cause you're
I
like you're going off each other's motivation.
Right. I think about Zuck, right?
Yeah.
He dropped out of college, right? And he built this crazy empire of
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Meta. Then you have Elon, right? Like all these billionaires who they dropped out of college and they're like, no is never an option.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the drive and the confidence. Whether you don't know the answer, you still go in there with the confidence. And that I'm reminded of that a lot. And I strive to be that person, honestly, because I did come from literally I was born in a small town in Mexico. And I'm like, no is never an option. My mom said no was never an option as she migrated to the United States.
Yeah.
And I took that with me, truthfully. So
So you're in Seattle, you were nannying, and then all of a sudden you had 300 jobs that you're working at the same time, crushing all of it. But you didn't stay in Seattle. I mean, obviously you're in Houston now, but you had a few stops before then. So,
yeah.
what was your next stop, and also how did you leave the gigs that you were at?
Yeah, so I ended up meeting my husband right while I was in Seattle, and
Great guy.
We love
hey
Phil.
Phil.
Shout out, Phil.
So we had always wanted to move to California, and during that time, was it 2018, I believe, we had ultimately settled that we were going to leave Seattle and move to California. So we started down that path, and one trip that we just just a fun trip, I was like, I'm gonna interview for some positions, why not? And I think I interviewed at like 4 spots, and I got all 4 jobs, and I was like, okay, well then if that's not a sign of us like taking that next leap of faith together, then I don't know what is. So I accepted one of the positions, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And it brought me back to the time that I left Houston. I'm like, all right, here's another leap of faith, let's go.
Right.
And Phil at the time did not have approval from Microsoft to work remotely. But I was like, okay, well, I'm still going to go. And
But y'all were just dating at the time,
we were
right?
dating. Yeah, we were.
Okay.
Yeah,
Y'all weren't engaged yet.
we were not engaged yet.
Okay.
You said, no one can hold me down.
No, it's
Oh, you're not
take no.
coming? I'm going. Are you coming?
And he was like, yeah, go, I'll meet you there, essentially. And I'm like, okay, great. As he's like getting approval for Microsoft to start working remotely, I ended up making that jump, and I started working at a aesthetic clinic in Orange County, where I met some incredible people, met some great friends who I'm still really close to this day. I just, it comes full circle, right? Was there, and then Phil then moved to California a month before COVID hit.
Oh.
Wow.
So y'all had both just arrived.
How long had you been there already?
A
said you
couple
moved-
months. A
Okay.
couple months I was there. Yeah.
And you were in Cali?
Mhm.
Whoo!
Rough
Living it
place for
up.
COVID.
Yeah.
I know.
So yeah. So yeah, I was there, and Phil ultimately got obviously the approval to work remotely. He got his place. COVID hit. I was like, well, if we're on lockdown, this is when like no one knew what was happening.
Yeah.
Like, well, if we're gonna be on lockdown, we might as well just do it together, right? And so moved in with each other, and I was still working at the aesthetic clinic, but then things started shutting down, and it started really like the beaches started closing, like we couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But still drove the clinic with revenue, no matter if we didn't see patients. I still
Oh.
figured out a way to bring in revenue, me and the owner, and just built confidence, or not confidence, built just ways to bring in revenue, different streams or whatever, and it ended up working fine. I ended up meeting this amazing girl, Michelle Wessendorf. If you're watching this, I love you so much. She is one of the most intelligent human beings I've ever met. She is graduated top of her class from oh gosh, what's that university, medical school? John Hopkins. Sorry.
Okay.
Incredible, brilliant mind, and I was managing the clinic at that time, and there was an opportunity in Austin for me to manage or open aesthetic clinics for a big company here in Texas. And I was like, should I apply for this? Like, this is like my first corporate position. And she's like, you have all the capability to do this job. You need to do it. I'll
Yeah.
write you a reference letter. And yeah, ultimately got the position, which I was like, okay, Phil, you ready to move to Austin? And he's like, okay. And
At this point, Phil's like, so you just can't stay in one place. Is that it? Like, we just always going to be moving? Don't even unpack
much.
the bag.
So
Right.
this was after COVID.
This was during, I think it was 2020.
Okay,
Yeah,
2020.
2020.
But
Okay,
let me rewind a second. I want to get back to that spot. But what really intrigues me right now is when COVID happened, you said you had only been at this place, this new med spa, for a couple months,
I think I was like a year or something.
and
Yeah.
you were integral in figuring out how to make money while everything was in lockdown.
Yep, we sold product online. I made cute little skincare kits for patients that they can come and pick up. Yeah, I mean, anything that I could do to continue driving revenue to the clinic. Yeah.
And all that was straight up like your idea, pitched to the manager or the owner and stuff. Hey, let's do this. We can still make some money and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, we worked together on the ideas and like I mean whatever we could do to keep business going. We just didn't want to
Yeah.
lose the practice.
It's all
like
your
huge.
creativity.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was crazy times.
Absolutely. The pandemic, side note, pandemic for me was actually my biggest time of growth. Before the pandemic, I was just like a videographer at a church who was just like part-time, like not really important. When the pandemic happened, everyone who was in the video space for churches, like all of a sudden became super important.
Essential workers.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But it just blows my mind though, like the creativity and stuff. Where did that come from? Where did the ideas and stuff you had come from for that?
I would
And really the courage or whatever you want to call it to say, hey, you're going up to your boss, like I have a plan, we could do this.
I think it goes back to the people who I was surrounding myself. No is never an option. Failure is never an option.
Gotcha. Ooh, that gave me goosebumps.
And
Just awesome.
I had a really great relationship with the business owner, and she trusted me, and I trusted her, and we still talk to this day. And I was like, I'm not going to let you fail. And I kind of took that, right? And I'm like, whatever needs to be done, I will do it. And that's what really drove me. Creativity, I guess.
I think that says a whole lot. I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I mean that mindset right there, especially what you just said, like I'm not gonna let this fail. You served in churches and stuff as well, right? Same wavelength.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds very much like that's a real servant attitude, where it's like it wasn't even like this is for me. It's like, hey, this is your business. I'm not gonna let it fail. I would imagine, like, did that come with any stipulations of I'm going to do this, but you're going to pay me this much or this percentage? No, right? It's just that mindset of. I think that's something that misses in a lot of people too. Because I follow a lot of things online of it's a good thing and a bad thing, but there's these TikTok and Instagram accounts and stuff that teach you how to set your own work boundaries and stuff, and how to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of by your boss and stuff like that of your business. And part of that. Yes, I agree with you should not be taken advantage of and whatnot. But just like, your mentors and stuff kind of taught you no is never an option. Something that my dad always taught me is you do your job and then see if your boss will teach you how to do his job. And if you're always taking the extra step and stuff, you can position yourself where you're ready to go to the next thing. And it's not a, hey, I'm going to do this if you pay me more. Because I feel like that's kind of the mindset right now where everyone's so guarded about this is my time, my space. This is,
my boundaries.
You can't expect me to do more than you're going to pay me for and stuff. And I find that really inhibiting.
Yeah, it is.
I will go the extra mile. And it's not because like I'm a sucker and I just let my boss walk over me and stuff. But it's like, I want to grow.
Yeah.
I want to do more. I want to advance. And so if you're going to give me a challenge, if there's a challenge available that I can meet, and like, either it's at work they're going to recognize me, or for myself, I get to walk away with the confidence of knowing, oh, I've been in that situation. I figured that out.
Yeah.
And I've done all I could.
Yeah.
Like I've put my best foot forward 100%. I feel that also that goes along with like similar to a mindset of like, okay, even though I'm still your employee, I want to make our company look good. And it's a team effort.
Yes.
And that's something that I really take pride in too, as like my work ethic is, even though I have very strong work ethic or whatever, you can count on me to represent your company well. And that, like you said, like that's how you grow together, whether it's a work relationship or a friendship, or it's the serving attitude.
And
essentially,
I totally agree with you. And with that mindset, every single CEO, entrepreneur that I have worked for, because I've had that mindset, they have come around and I still have relationships with them. It's like, hey, do you want to be a part of this project? Hey, because they know I'm going to get it done and that I'm going to carry their company on my back no matter what. But because I did that at that time, she was my boss at the time, Michelle. she wrote me this amazing letter of recommendation, and I ultimately got the job to move to Austin, and then opened these clinics across Texas, and I opened one in LA. Literally, like I I got to figure it out from scratch, and hired people, and like I didn't have any, you know, experience. I remember one time my boss at this company was like, "Hey, can you build me a Gantt chart for this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, totally." I don't know what a Gantt chart is. Okay.
Did you Google it?
And I'm like, "How to build a Gantt chart?" Google, bloop. YouTube, bloop. Great.
Ooh,
All right.
YouTube University is my favorite thing. I built my entire career on YouTube University.
And I remember my boss, and I'm like, "Hey, I built a Gantt chart. You want to take a look at it? Do you want me to share it with you?" And she's like, "Yeah, please." And I shared. She's like, "This is really good. Great. Awesome." And I'm like, "Yeah, totally."
Woo! Wow. I freaking love the confidence, though. Fake it till you make
Fake it till you make it.
But I'm still really close with all those people at that company, and ultimately ended up leaving there to go to this startup that I was recommended to the CEO for to, and got the job there, and ultimately ended up opening locations, med spas all over the United States.
Did they ever find out, though, that you didn't know what a Gantt chart was?
Can't get off the Gantt chart.
I know. I'm just like so impressed.
No, I don't think they did. I really don't.
So they're
don't know.
they know now. No, but that's okay. So another thing is, I myself have been kind of analyzing like the journey that I've been on in my own career and stuff, and just a phrase that sticks out of my head so much is "nothing is wasted." Right. So even like along the journey when like you haven't, you don't know why you were doing a coffee shop startup.
Yeah.
But I'd be willing to bet that coffee shop startup had information in there on how to start a business that helped you with starting up anything from like basic infrastructure to whatever systems you need to put in place to make sure everything works right. How do you get inventory and stuff and get all of those things, like the accounting part of it.
All of it.
So all of that stuff that you learned in Seattle for a friend that like you're just doing it as a gig, and now here you are in this position, you could say, "Oh, I have that experience actually. I could probably do that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's that's awesome to look back on it and say like, "Whoa, I did that."
Yeah,
Right.
it was all a foundation, and then you just build off that foundation. But yeah, I mean, at this startup company, I was there for I believe a little bit over 2 years, and I'm still really close with everybody there. CEO, CFO is a good friend of mine. They place so much confidence in like they're like, help us, right? And I'm like, I will do whatever it takes to move your company to bring your company to the next level. And ended up moving to Florida to
Again.
ended up the amount of times we have moved, it's just ridiculous. But moved to Florida and then helped basically build the East Coast. And then just traveled everywhere to open clinics.
Wow.
And just learned, put my head down and got to work. And a startup is no joke. You wear multiple hats. One day you're in operations, the next day you're in sales, the next day you are accounting, the next day you're inventory management. Like, it's just everything. And I learned from these incredible people. I mean, these people, Harvard and like big schools, and here I am, like, no degree, but I'm really close to you, and I like you, you like me, you're teaching me, I'm putting in the groundwork. Yeah, and they just knew that I would get it done. Hey, can you go here? Yes, I will find the next flight and go there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like, hey, can you? Yep. Who do I need to call? Yep.
We know it's all like yes thing and like you're freaking boss and like go getter, but like what were some challenges though that like you encountered? Like, did you ever work with somebody who was like, no, we're not going to do that? Like an idea, or like what challenges did you face? Because it is not all rainbows and sunshine, I'm sure.
No,
so.
I mean, there's people that you don't agree with, like you said, and you just kind of like, you let it play out. Like, okay, well, I don't agree with it, but since you're the boss or you are the high exec, whatever, like, we're going to go with your plan and we'll just pivot. I've never been the type of person who's like, that is the horrible idea. I put my foot down. We just got to pivot. we're
So
gonna
you're
lose.
flexible.
Like, yeah, we
Yeah.
might lose thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, who knows? But like, we just got to move on. Like, figure it out.
I feel like that's an understated gift as well, is the ability to, one, know that you're right on a subject, but then be willing to say, well, it's not my company, it's not my thing, so
Yeah.
you're the boss, let's do your thing, and some things are probably going to fail and stuff, but at the end of that, you're going to have your own new set of challenges and how do you bring it back, but then
Yeah.
there's going to be even more trust built after that. I'm like, well,
Right.
your opinion matters more, I think, at that point where it's like, all right, well, the thing the boss tried, I'm willing to put my pride, my ego aside.
Yeah.
Know that this is going to be problems for me later, but we're just going to have to roll with the
It's like
punches and
pick
then
your
we'll build it
battles
back up.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But to not because you can't just throw that in a boss's face and be like,
No.
what I'm going to do is the right idea, because it's not your company. Even if
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
you're right, the ability to just say, fine, I'm following you.
But like you said, it's like you're building trust with that person.
Yeah.
Like, hey, even if I make a mistake, this girl's gonna ride or die with me to the end because she trusts me and she's gonna get it done. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and again, so I wanted to say not to knock on people with degrees, because obviously the podcast is called No Degree Just Experience, but we don't knock on people with degrees. But I think it's really it's awesome to see that a person can be on that same level with somebody, not based on the classes I went to, the piece of paper and stuff, but literally just that attitude, that personality of like the ability of like looking ahead and like they're giving you a challenge or, hey, can you do this? Something like the Gantt chart, whatever. And you're like, I don't know how to do it, but I know I could figure it out. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to make that happen regardless. I just love that attitude and seeing
Like
how
the
far that's taken.
determination.
Yes.
Yeah. The self ignition almost.
Yeah. So after all the building and the growth and stuff, what happened next for you? So you've been starting these clinics all over the U.S. and stuff. So what happened after that?
Well, I think this was last year. There was a period of like, I literally got multiple job offers in 1 month out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that means I'm in demand, right?
Yeah.
People know me. People know my work. I'm in demand.
You're building a reputation.
I'm building a reputation. I remember I had a conversation with your mom actually, because I believe your mom's in HR, and she gave me some amazing advice. And I ended up accepting one, and it was great. And then, gosh, I don't even remember how it all went down, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I was like, something went bad. Some business deal didn't go as I was planning or was promised, and that was okay. And I didn't have a job, and this was late last year, and I'm like, okay, all right, if I'm in demand, people want me. I could either call one of these companies like, hey, do you still want me? Go to them, or I can say, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it. Why not? So I was kind of like just forced into it in a way, right? I'm like, I talked to Phil, my husband, and he's like, yeah, he's an amazing support for me, and he's always been. He's like, yeah, I support you. Go for it. And I'm like, okay. So did that, and then the phone just started ringing. Hey, we found out that you're doing your thing. Like, or other people
So
would be
you
like,
started your own company?
I started my own consulting firm. Yeah.
Oh my
And-
God, Mariela.
Hey.
People would
So
start calling me, and they're like, hey, we heard that you're doing this, or somebody else would be like, hey, what are you up to? And I'm like, well, this, and they're like, great, let's work together. And I'm like, okay. And I started taking clients, started taking people in, and it just, I'm mind blown. Like I had 2 calls yesterday, last night with 2 big, CEOs or whatever, and they're like, hey, would you consult with? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna need to hire people to help me. Like this is just insane. And yeah, I mean,
And when you say clients, they're like business owner med spas, right?
yeah, they're businesses, multi or like just single locations. Some of them are multi locations. So it just varies. There's like a scale, I guess, like just different types of
I'm
people.
just like I'm so proud of you. And I say that like not in a like, okay, so like when Mariela and I first met, we just like bonded right away. Kind of took you in as like not took you in, but like we bonded like sisters. And because I'm older, as like my little sister. And I'm just like so proud of the woman that you've become. And I don't want to get emotional. But you're no longer like, I don't see you as that little sister anymore. It's like, no, she's a boss beep woman. And I'm just like proud to call you friend. And I love watching where you've been and like where you are now. And I'm just like inspired by your journey.
Aw.
I am. I'm just like so proud because I was in that driveway like, I don't know what this is going to look like, but
Yeah, you
here's some gas money. And I'm just like, yeah.
I mean, there were some really tough times in there, though, too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just one example, the house burning down, or like, I literally lived in 120 square feet, tiny studio in Capitol Hill, Seattle, right? Like,
By yourself.
by myself. You know, car breakdowns, or, you know, just all this crazy, the multiple moves that cost a lot of money, or like, hospital trips. Like, there's just so much stuff that goes on, right? That you're like, oh, this is gonna bring me down, or like, gosh, this sucks. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But you have to surround yourself with the right people, and like Phil is like that person for me, and
Right.
he's like, what's that phrase, like steady Nelly or whatever that phrase is, where he's just so steady. Like, he's been at Microsoft for 10 years. Okay, he is has the same friend. Like, he's like just so steady and like a strong foundation, where I am allowed to kind of be like, duh, here and here and let's go here.
Yeah.
Because of him.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You know, there's bills to pay, there's a mortgage to pay, there's all these things, and he's always been like that solid rock for me.
That support system.
That support system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So.
amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's like all the struggles and stuff you went through. Like you literally had to go through all of that just to get to where you were. Because I mean, I'm sure the dream is to be where you are right now. Like when you pulled out the driveway, in some way or another, this is kind of the life you wanted to build. But it doesn't happen overnight,
Yeah.
and it doesn't all go smooth.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to burn down a house just to get rid of the lice, you know?
Stop.
No, but it's a whole journey. So it's really cool hearing your story. I didn't know a lot of the things, especially like the mentors and stuff, like when you
Yeah.
were nannying. Because I remember the first time I saw you coming back from Seattle was it was unfortunate circumstances when our friend Bobby passed away.
Yeah.
But when I saw you there, you were just a totally different person than the one who left.
Yeah.
Your amount of self-confidence was just through the ceiling.
Yeah.
Which was very different because I remember before, like, you know, your circumstances in Houston and stuff, you didn't have, you had the confidence to like get out. But I think there was a lot of like forces on top of you that were kind of pushing you down. So seeing where you were, your personality, I had no idea where that came from. But I
Yeah.
was like, Mariela's a different person.
First of all, she doesn't go by Maggie anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say your former name, but yeah, you had a totally different name.
Yeah, we knew
I
you
was
as
like,
Maggie.
Maggie. And you're like, it's Mariela now.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, put some respect on it.
Okay, all
Roll
right.
the R, guys.
Mariela.
But no, I agree. When I was in Houston, I was just so lost. I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do with my life. The only thing I knew is that I wanted to be someone,
Yeah.
and I wanted to just get out of the circumstances that I was in. And like, I had that drive, like I mentioned earlier. And now that I'm back here in Houston, it's really weird, right? Because this is where it all started.
Yeah.
And here I am, you know, I have a business. My husband is doing really well with his career, married, like what's next?
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's just like very new with my business, and, I'm doing really well. I don't know what's next, but the only thing I know is that I'm not going to say no, and anything that opens up, I'm going to say yes to it. And I'm just going to apply everything that I learned with my business.
Of course. Yeah.
And Yeah.
On a side note, are y'all still trying to move to Arizona?
Yeah, are you gonna stay planted here?
I don't know.
Or
I mean, we we don't know yet. I mean, I would love to move there, and I mean, it's a dream.
What was the
honestly.
city y'all were trying to move to?
Scottsdale.
Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this answer or not, but
Yeah.
I remember, so I went to Arizona last summer
Mhm.
because I was shooting some stuff for the church on a missions trip to the Navajo Nation out there.
Yeah.
But on the way back, there was, man, first of all, the weather where I was at in Tonalea, which is really close to like the touristy places with all the huge rock structures and stuff out in the
Sedona.
desert. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Sedona kind of area. Exactly. So I was in Tonalea, beautiful place. The weather was amazing. And as we were driving back, it was in the summer, and there was
Ugh.
a city where it was a little further north. It's like a ski kind of place in Arizona. I'm trying to remember the name.
Flagstaff.
Flagstaff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Flagstaff's incredible.
I was like, when you said you moved to Arizona, I was like, I bet it's Flagstaff.
I mean, that's actually Phil's favorite spot. There's
so nice.
there's like an astronomy spot there where like
Ooh,
a
that's cool.
telescopes, and Phil loves space and like everything outer space, like that's his thing. But he
I
loves
love
it
it.
there. But yeah, I
The
mean,
weather is like California weather out there. It is
It-
amazing in
it's
Flagstaff.
yeah.
And then we drove down to Phoenix, and I was
Scorching
like,
hot.
this is where the devil reigns. Like, I was like, Phoenix, same for me. It's like 118 degrees with 300% humidity.
It's really, really, it's hot. It's
Wow.
hot. Yeah, it's hot.
When you walk out, you feel like someone's just hitting you with a hairdryer. Like
Oh.
on like the hottest mode, like the hottest setting. It's just hot wind blowing in your face.
like you're in an oven.
I can't
Yeah,
do that. I
yeah.
can't do that at all.
Phoenix.
Yeah, yeah. I just love. I miss the mountains. I mean, just living in Seattle for 6 years, Phil and I would, hey, let's go hiking. Okay, and then we're like at this beautiful waterfall in the Cascades, right? Or like,
That looks so
We
pretty.
we want that so bad.
Yeah.
for our lives.
or like
I love
Y'all
you.
are-
I
y'all are
love
very
Houston, but-
Adventurous.
we're very adventurous. Or like
Like-
in California, right? We bought bikes and we would ride bikes up the one, and like the ocean's right there, and you're like, oh, and like dolphins are coming out. Like, how is this even real?
I remember when you first went, or the first phase when you were in Seattle. Some of our mutual friends went to visit, and you took them glacier hiking.
We went glacier high. Yep.
I was like, "What?"
It doesn't even sound like a real thing.
There was an ice
I was
cave.
like, "That
and,
is so cool." It's like you're hiking.
Just casually going to an ice cave.
I was
yeah, and it's
so
like a
awesome.
mile in.
So is it
Yeah.
like closer to Alaska or?
No.
Like
It's
what?
it's north, so like near Canada.
Oh,
Yeah,
near Canada.
yeah.
Okay.
But Washington State, the whole state is just like if you go to Olympia, it's beautiful there. You go to the east side of the state, and I mean, you just get like hit like just plains of just beautiful plains, and then like old houses, and it's beautiful.
And of course, it's nothing like Texas.
Well, hold on.
so-
Houston is beautiful if you love strip malls and oil refineries. Okay.
and
If that's-
abandoned malls. Yeah,
and abandonment, yeah.
Houston is gorgeous for that.
it is
Well-
concrete city.
We figured to move back for a variety of reasons. One, family being here. Two, at the time I was traveling a lot, so why not be in a central location, right? Central time, and
Yeah.
just get on a plane, and you can go anywhere, like Tulsa, Arizona. Like it's like right there.
Right.
And so it was just convenient, and like the housing market was a lot better than
Cali.
yeah.
And Houston.
Well, the property taxes here are just bananas. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it was less. And I remember just Phil was like, "Hey, go look at these 3 houses," and I'm like, "Okay." So I like detoured from one of my business trips, came down to Houston, looked at those 3 houses. The last house, I was FaceTiming him, and I'm like, "Yep, let's get this one."
Yeah.
Less than like 2 weeks, we were like packed up, house closed.
Wow.
Let's go.
I know y'all are seasoned movers, so
I mean,
like
at
you
this
already knew
point,
like what to do,
yeah.
how to do. Yeah.
I feel like we are at this point.
Yeah.
At this point, you should just be like renting a new house every 6 months in a different state. Like, y'all both work remotely now. Like, there's
I know.
nothing to tie you down.
Right.
I know. We were like, we should just be snowbirds at this point, where you're like, during this winter you go here, during the winter you go here, or summer you go here, and but yeah, it's we both work from home, and we can really go anywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is that like working from home with your spouse?
It's not that bad, I have.
It's not that bad.
I think he has the worst of it because I am on the phone constantly.
Mhm.
Like I'm on business calls almost every hour of the hour, right? And so I'm the talker and he's the engineer where he's just like, close the door. I don't want to, like, I need to like
He's
build this.
overstimulated.
Yeah.
Just soundproofing his office.
Yeah.
But his office is on one side of the house and my office on the other side of the house. But sometimes I get bored being stuck in my office and I'm like, I just go out and like just walk around the kitchen or I'll go here and he's like, and I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to just go by myself. So
See, whenever
Oh, but-
whenever I'm doing like deep like editing work and stuff, that's Rocky's favorite time to just come over and like mess with me.
Oh yeah. Like, what are you doing?
When I'm focused, anytime I'm vulnerable in some way, that's where she likes to come over and mess with me. So if I'm like deep focus editing, she'll sit down, she'll like start poking me or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, you know, when I was traveling a lot, I mean, I would be gone for days and then
Yeah.
I'm back and he's like, I miss you. Come back. And I'm like, yeah, you want me to talk on the phone, huh? You take that any day. Take that any day. So,
You miss my presence.
yeah, exactly.
That's
But-
funny. Oh my gosh.
So, in all of your backstories and stuff, you talked about all the different kind of places that you worked at, relationships you had with CEOs and stuff. But then you moved on to other businesses. You said you still stay in touch with those people. For someone who is an entrepreneur and someone who is, you know, essentially like was in demand and went from different jobs and stuff, how do you exit well? How do you keep those relationships with bosses? Because I mean, that's a difficult thing, especially for millennials. Like we're told, like you should leave your job every 2 years because the typical career path doesn't really exist anymore, where you stay at a company for 40 years and retire.
Yep.
That's you never really see that anymore. So that mindset of like you stay at a place for a certain amount of time, especially when you're helping build the company and stuff. How do you exit well where you get to maintain that relationship?
Gosh, that's such a great question because I definitely broke some hearts. Um,
Oh.
honestly, it's the reason why, you know, I've left places is only to further me, right? Like to further my career. And that's kind of how I approached it. Like, hey, I'm not leaving because I hate where I'm at. I'm leaving because this company is offering me, you know, 35% more pay or whatever. And it's like, well, you can't really
Argue with that.
argue against,
Yeah.
you know, argue that. And I've always left on good terms and they've always checked in on me, you know, like, hey, how are you doing? You doing good? How's the job? And I'm like, it's going great.
They're fishing to find
They're
out if you're not
fishing.
happy.
Right.
Are you miserable? There's still a spot for you here.
I know. But also that, like, it's just so, it feels so good to just know that, right? Like, hey, I really gave you value and I helped you, you know, with your company. But yeah, I mean, it's not easy. Trust me, picking up that phone and, hey,
Yeah.
it's really, really tough. It's really tough because I also enjoy working at
Mhm.
these places. It's like,
And
but
they're friends too.
and they're
in a way.
friends.
Yeah.
yeah,
Work friends.
yeah. And so I'm not gonna lie. Like at those moments, I just get really like, ugh. But then I'm like, I have to do it. It's for me. I have to do it. I have to do it.
Yeah.
And I always, you know, I would say like, it's not. It truly is not you. It's like I need to make this jump. And
Sounds like a mature breakup.
yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
And most of the time they've all been like, totally get it. I support you. Which is great.
Something that my dad always told us when we're like transitioning through careers or something or whatever, the advice he would give is like, well, at the end of the day, you're responsible for your family. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you make decisions based on your family,
Yeah.
not for anybody else. So don't feel obligated to stay at the job because if they're offering you more money here, well, it's it's for my family.
It's
I'm
for family.
bettering myself, but also my family.
Yep.
So like that was always a good thing that stuck with me, that he told me, like, I'm not answering to you at the end of the day.
It's
You
so
know?
funny though, because like these relationships that I've built in the past, like now that I'm like my own, like I'm a contractor or whatever, like I have my own thing, I can go to them and be like, hey, do you need help? Yeah, yes, please. Like, hey, what do you need help on? And it's just really cool because it's like all these people that I've surrounded myself with, they're all coming back.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we want to work with you in whatever capacity we can. We want to work with you. And that to me is like, man, that's so cool. That is so cool. I just had a call, 2 calls yesterday, and it's like people that I worked with in the past, and it's like, what are you up to? Like, I saw your website. Like, that's awesome. And I'm like, yeah. Do you want to work? Do you want to, like, what do you need? Like, well, I need this. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can get it done by da-da-da. This is how much I charge.
That's such a huge contrast with, like, again, the other stuff that I'm seeing on like these millennial work TikToks and stuff that's about, a common video that I see is an employer going, "Oh, you need to put in your 2 weeks notice." And the employee goes, "Well, you didn't give Greg 2 weeks when you fired him yesterday." And it's like, I'm not going to give you that respect because you don't give us that respect. Again, it's coming back to like exiting the right way or doing it the right way. And if you do, you keep those relationships, and when you get to come back
Yeah.
around, like, you haven't made a whole bunch of enemies and burned a bunch of bridges, but you have people that can continue to work with you and you could partner with later on and stuff. That's another thing that people our age, our demographic and stuff needs to really know and understand. Like, there needs to be a
Yeah.
pushback against this crappy employee
I
behavior.
don't think it's just employees though. We've created a culture where everybody's like, my feelings are more important and my ego is more important and I have this, and there's not like a helping work ethic. It's not like a build relationships, be selfless and just do what your boss says to like better the company. It's no, the vibes aren't good, so I'm leaving. You know, like seriously though.
Yeah, that's
so
very
like
true.
it's like I don't know what it is, but we're just built different, I guess.
Yeah, I
But-
have no idea why people are like that. But I will say I don't want anybody like that on the team.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
want
don't
anybody
know.
like that
Yeah.
working for me either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's as a manager who has like people underneath me and stuff. The things that I'm really looking for is personalities that are taking that initiative. Like, I love when one of my guys comes up to me and asks, "Hey, can we try this?" 100%.
Yeah.
Try it. Even if I necessarily don't see the vision or think it's a good idea, please try it, because I want to encourage that behavior. I want to encourage that initiative. I want to encourage those employees who really care about their work and they want to continue to like make it better. I want to
Yeah.
bring those people up. I need more of that in
Yeah.
Yeah.
my circle.
Yeah, I agree. I always say, when I would manage teams, I'm like, hey, I'm not just your manager. I am your like I'm serving you. Like, what can I do to help you do your job better?
Yeah.
Right? Well, I need this, and I'm like, okay, well, let's figure it out. Let me talk to whoever. Let me build something for you, and let's figure it out together. And I think that's also helped me be a better leader and like move me up the ranks a little bit faster because people just trusted me.
Yeah.
Like my teams trusted me, and like yeah, it just kind of goes.
That's something that I value too. Like as a leader, I want to see you getting down in the trenches
Yeah.
too with me,
Yeah.
elbow to elbow.
Yeah.
And because a good leader knows how to follow as well, and I think that's like the most important leadership quality is not just like I'm the boss, do this, do that. It's let me work beside you, so you don't feel like you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
Like let's learn together, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and all that, like a degree's not. I don't know if it's gonna really teach you that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, degree gives you information and stuff that might be valuable to whatever the skill set is, but that mentality, I think, is I'm like segueing into a whole other thing that I want to talk about right here. And,
Leaders are born, not. I'm sorry.
No, but I was going to ask that question too. Before I do ask that question, like, how do you find those kind of people? How do you teach that? It kind of goes along with the exiting well kind of mindset. And Jenny, if you're watching this podcast, I am not trying to leave my job. These are just things that are coming across my mind. It has nothing to do with my work. I love my job, Jenny. So for exiting well and training up people, I love the concept of I like to work myself out of a job. Right now, I'm in a position with my team where I'm actually releasing some of my responsibilities to some of my team members. Because the only way for me to go up further in an area that I want to go is if I could bring other people up with me. So my predecessor was very big on like holding everyone down. He liked to be the cap of it. He didn't want people to do their job better than him and stuff. And so we kind of put a ceiling on there. So what are your thoughts on like the only way that you can advance is if you can train your people to do the stuff that you're doing with the mindset of like, again, I call it train yourself out of a job.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. gives that other person an opportunity to also learn, right? Like yes, I learned all this stuff, but people taught me because they weren't afraid. Like they weren't afraid of me of like taking their job. You know what I
That's the
mean?
thing right there. Yeah, because people are afraid that, oh, well, if I teach this guy how to do my job, well, then
He's going to do it better or
I remember
whatever.
do you remember the movie Shallow Hal?
Yeah,
Jack Black movie.
I do remember that. That's an
So
old movie.
yeah, it's an old movie. That was something I remembered all the way from that movie that stuck with me for forever. Is he was trying to do like get a promotion at work or something like that, and he either ended up getting let go or he didn't get it. And he goes, "You got to make yourself indispensable. That's the problem. You're not indispensable." And so that's like the fear is if y'all don't 100% need me and y'all can't survive without me, then I'll never go forward. So you're afraid to train anybody to do your stuff because now you're no longer indispensable. But for me, it's like, well, if you don't train anybody, then you can't go nowhere. So if you want to do the same thing
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
50 years, go ahead and don't train anybody and lock yourself in.
Right.
And then
that's
what
true.
are you going to do with all that and all that value that you have? Like why not teach it to to your peers and like the people that work for you? Like why not? Why
Yeah.
not? There's no reason because you don't know what that person can bring to the table.
Right.
Like, what if they're a powerhouse? Like,
Exactly.
okay, I want you on my team.
Yeah.
And even then, like, I'm helping, like, I'm helping you, and you're helping me. We're just gonna make the team better.
Right.
I do it to my
Love that.
detriment. So I have a high turnover rate at for my camera guys here at the church I work at, and it's not because they don't like working here. It's because I really invest in like making sure they understand the why for everything, the how and the why. Like you need to know how to operate the camera, how to do all the settings the right way,
Yeah.
why you're doing it this way, and then also going into all the other parts of like, composition, shooting, things like that. And so I have to hire at a pretty low experience level because we only have so much budget that we can, pay a bunch of camera ops. And then I train them all and they go work somewhere else because now they have skill sets. But I'll never stop doing it because I love teaching them. I love training them. And I tell all of them, like, no hard feelings. Like, when you find a gig or something, if it's going to pay you more or be better opportunity than what I can give you, go take it.
Yeah.
Like, no hard feelings or anything.
He's like a proud dad.
I am. Like, there's some guys that like I've trained and stuff, and now they're doing really cool things that's like beyond what I'm doing, and I'm like, proud of you, dude.
Yeah.
You're doing cool stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's how like the people that I've on like, hey, I'm putting in my whatever month notice or whatever, and everyone's like, we get it, we get it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. It's like I knew I wasn't going to get you forever.
I know.
But I think that's really good leadership there, though, is like knowing that you train people up, build people up, and I think you can't ever exit well if you haven't imparted some of what you bring to the table to leave some of that behind.
Yeah,
I think is a really important thing.
I agree.
I love it. I just like, I don't know, I'm just picturing like we all knew each other back then, your leadership skills, and like, it's awesome. So, considering all of your experience, all the moves you've made business wise and personal and all that stuff, what is some advice you would give somebody who doesn't want to go the non traditional route, which tradition would be go to school, go to college, get married, the whole like tradition. So, like, for those that want to follow their dreams or like that see themselves, here, but they don't know how to get there, like, what would your advice be? Especially those that don't have a degree necessarily.
I would say pick a field that you are truly passionate about. Like I'm really passionate about medical aesthetics and what it delivers, right? And you just learn. You dive in deep and you learn. That's what I would say to someone. Pick a field. Find people in that. Even, for example, even if a coffee shop, start as a barista. Learn freaking latte art. I don't know. Then you start slowly grabbing things. Okay, how do you do inventory? What's my cogs? What's my profitability? What's my liability? And start learning from the owners and be available is what I would say. Because if you're available and you have that servant attitude, doors are just going to open for you.
Yeah.
Truly. Someone's going to find out about you and they're going to want to grab you because of what you're delivering.
good.
Make sure that your output is what you want it to be, and it's like above and beyond, right? Be selfless. Yes, it's about you trying to get to the next level and next level, but also be serving to that owner and business person, right?
Yeah. And we don't mean serving like kiss their butt,
No,
or
no, no,
anything.
no.
It's serving just like taking initiative, saying yes,
Saying
you
yes.
know,
Taking ownership.
taking
Taking
ownership,
Not like you own the
accountability.
company, but like whatever your role in it is, you own that, and every single bit of that, you're like, I'm going to do everything I can in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, be confident. Even if you don't know how to do a Gantt chart, say yes to it
Say yes.
and do it.
And then figure it
do
out.
it.
My biggest takeaway from this, from you saying, is just we don't say no. Like, I love that line so
Yeah.
much.
We don't take no for an answer.
Probably not a good thing for me, because everybody, even my bosses at work, is like, Charlie, you need to stop saying yes to stuff. You do not have capacity.
You do not have capacity. You're only one person.
Yeah, see where you're at in life, right? Like if you're a single mom and you're trying to move up, like obviously working extra like on a Saturday and a Sunday, obviously that's not going to be beneficial for you, right? But find other ways to say yes to things. Get creative and like, hey, have you considered about doing this? Because I really think this is going to really drive revenue. No, actually, great. I can do it for you. Let me execute it and see if it works. If it works, great. We can
Yeah.
continue. If not, then we just tried. Take initiative and get creative with ideas, and I promise you, you're just gonna go to the next level.
Yeah. I love that.
That's good.
And YouTube University.
YouTube
Learn
University.
everything about your field.
Just type in how to build a Gantt chart, guys. I mean, you can probably add that on ChatGPT, and it's gonna make it for you in like less than 30 seconds.
Right?
ChatGPT has changed my life in terms of like looking things up and like.
Yeah.
I literally wrote up job descriptions because we're doing some updates in HR, and I was just like, Chat, what does a job description look like for this? And they just all the information.
One of the CEOs that I know, he's building a company and he's using AI with a lot of it. And this dude freaking created a sales pitch with the CEO as the person. Literally, like he's talking like they recorded him.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And like his like the way he's talking it sounds like him. His mannerisms are him, and I'm like, this is bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, do you want me to do you want one too? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I think I don't know.
Okay, that's an interesting. Gosh, we keep going to more questions. Okay, one more question, business question, then we got to wrap up. Considering AI and ChatGPT, and you can ask it whatever, how do you think that's going to affect your like somebody like a consultant when an owner can just, well, how do you do this? Like how do you think it's affecting the industries and stuff?
I think it depends on the industry. I think for my industry, it's everybody's looking for someone who can get down to the nitty gritty. And right now, AI is not getting down to the nitty. AI is not going to go in there and like look at your what's your liability and your cash flow and like what you're paying for with these big pharma companies and like all these like little things and like customer service and like you have to teach someone customer so you a
like
robot
personality and stuff. Yeah.
Now for Phil, who's an engineer, it's only a benefit for him to have something like AI, because let's say he's trying to build something within a platform for an Android or Apple or whatever. It's like, oh well, AI is going to help me with the code, and then I can just tweak it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a positive thing. It's only going to make things better.
Yeah.
It's great. So yeah, use AI, write your resume, tweak it up. Never, ever copy and paste what AI's just, you got to tweak it. You got to tweak it, make your own, because you don't want to just, people are going to know. Okay. Actually, there is one person who, I was like, hey, you need to do this to better the operation of your practice. And I was like, write it out and then send it to me so I can review it. And she's like, okay. She wrote it out, this thing. And I'm like, she wrote this. She didn't write this. So I went on ChatGPT and I said, write what I asked her to do. And literally word for word, right? And I'm like, is this plagiarism? Like, I don't know. But
if it's ChatGPT, it's not plagiarism. But what it is, it's like, I've now lost confidence in you as a person, like for what you're able to do. It's like you didn't plagiarize it, but you definitely didn't put your own spin or anything. Like anybody could have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, can you just take, yes, look at it for ChatGPT, but like make it your own. I don't know. Don't. I just think it's
Yeah.
hilarious, but
I had an idea that I want to do with ChatGPT. I have not initiated this yet, but it's something I want to do. Is just like at least once a week or like frequently, like have a thread that's in ChatGPT where you just like do some kind of like what would be like a blog entry, just whatever your thought is,
Yeah.
whatever. But just so ChatGPT can learn your writing style. That way, when you ask ChatGPT to write something, it has a database of like, this is how you write.
Yeah.
And so it creates something that sounds like something you would do.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, we're giving all the cheat codes.
yeah.
That's still something I want to do.
A lot of people are using Claude. That's the latest AI.
Okay.
Really?
Claude, CLAUDE.
Okay.
I still want to check out DeepSeek, that one that came out of China. They say it's way better than ChatGPT.
Well, they actually built it for a ton less money than what they did with ChatGPT.
That's what I hear, like
Yeah.
like a few million
Yeah.
versus billions.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
like Americans.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, we should probably do a sign off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts that you would give our listeners
Yeah.
that you want to say?
I would say do not have a victim mentality. I feel like me, out of all people, would be the person who would be a victim because, being an immigrant, I was some circumstances that I wasn't able to do things. My mom was a single parent. We didn't have money. I couldn't afford college. But I never let that define me, and I never let that be a crutch for me. Ever.
That's good.
Ever. And I think going back to, you saying like you were surrounded by these people, mentors, and like, yeah, they were never victims, ever. And multimillionaires never complained, just had to get what needed to be done. If they couldn't figure it out, they always found a way.
Right.
And so that's what I never considered myself a victim ever. And here I am, like,
Doing the damn thing.
yeah.
Sorry, I had to say it. I'm just like so proud.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in to the No Degree Just Experience podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, all of the things. And we will see y'all next week with another podcast and another guest.
Yay.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.